yesterday. I already saw the movie. I really liked it. Congratulations for this new movie.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bernard, I want to start making this question, but it's in a very friendly tone because I want to ask you this way. Why do you think we need another Led Zeppelin documentary? Does it have something different or special that many others that have already been done?
Well, unless you're been to some other planet that I haven't been to, I've never seen a Led Zeppelin documentary with them in it before. There isn't one. They've never done a documentary. So the only things that are out there are films with just people that bumped into them at parties talking about it or some of the record. They've never done a documentary. That's why we wanted to do it, because
The
in
first time.
55 years, they've never sat down and told their story on camera.
Okay, great answer. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. What about the IMAX format? I was fascinated with the images, but was it your idea? And what does it contribute to the film for you, the IMAX format?
Well, Led Zeppelin is the biggest band in the world, and they deserve the biggest screens in the world with the biggest sound systems in the world. So if you've got an IMAX near you, that is definitely the place to see it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we made the film for people to go together to cinemas to watch it on a big screen, but we never dreamed that it would be on IMAX. And then when Sony Pictures Classics took it to IMAX and they said yes, and we went to test the film at IMAX, we were like, my goodness, it was like we made it for IMAX. It was so exciting. And so yeah, I mean it's absolutely thrilling. I heard yesterday that it's IMAX's most successful music film of all time already.
Oh, great. Are both of you Led Zeppelin fans? That's an important part for the point of view, no, and the narrative.
Well, my I when I was 12 years old, my mum was an antique dealer. There was boxes of antiques all around the house. Um, this little book was in one of the boxes,
Hmm.
and it's the first ever biography written about the band, and it was written in the mid it was published in the mid 70s, so it's just the early part of the story, and I read it twice, and I thought it was a terrific story, really inspiring, about these four young guys trying to make their way in the music business and learning and trying to do, not wasting a day, getting every single piece of knowledge they can. And then they meet in this room and they realize this is something special. And they're able to apply everything they've learned on this mission to get this band to the world. And they face all these obstacles, but they just plow through them. And so it was just very exciting to me as a kid. I thought, oh, this is how you do things. So this book was inspiring to me, like the Odyssey or one of these stories. And so when it came to doing our next film, I said, and we'd done this American epic film with Robert Redford, which is about all the roots of American music from the 20s and 30s, which is the roots of Led Zeppelin. I came to Alice and said, I know this story's great, and I loved the story before I got into their music. So after I read the book, I started finding their records and just fell in love with the music. And Allison actually had other musical interests. And so the great thing about doing the film was I had all this knowledge of Led Zeppelin. And then when I came to her with the story, Allison got into Zeppelin through making the film with me. And so
Mm.
it was really a lot of the film, making the film was, how can I get Allison excited, even more and more excited about this music? So she was like writing the film with me, but she was also like a test audience. So when I was getting the performances in, if the performances were sounding amazing and Allison was going, "This is great," I went, "Right, it's working." You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was like a
Yin
perfect
and yang.
synergy, yin and
Yeah,
yang,
yeah.
you know?
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, a lot of time, she was the first audience as we were
Yeah.
cutting it.
Yeah.
Like, is it working? You know? And I
Okay.
made it. I also wanted the film to be that if you were like a Led Zeppelin fan and you were bringing your partner to the movie theater, they could say, oh, I can see why you're so nuts about this group. I get it, you know?
Okay.
And I have to add one thing, Pepe, is that there's not a lot of music you could listen to for 5 years in an edit room. And so now I know why they're so popular, because the music is really great.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Thank you. Another question is about when I was watching the movie, and suddenly you play some images on a laptop computer to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, and they became, wow. How did you get that so strange footage that even Page and Plant didn't know it? How did you get together all these strange pieces of jewelry, Led Zeppelin material?
We'd researched an epic, I would say.
Yeah, we learned how to. It was a lot of detective work, Pepe. We did archaeological digging to find these lost treasures that nobody knew existed, and we had contacted the fan base to let them know that we were researching this film, and so we had some leads that led us to some people who'd shot the early footage, like the one you mentioned, the bath footage that came through Dave Lewis, who runs Type It Loose, one of the fans' websites, and he introduced me to the filmmaker, Steve Bassett, who shot that film. So there's a story behind every treasure in the film.
Yeah, and we you know, we when Led Zeppelin agreed to do the film, and they what was wonderful is they gave us complete artistic freedom with the film.
Okay.
So we made the film with their permission and support, but they gave us, it was our film. They let us make, like American Epic. This was the next American Epic. This was conquering America from England. You know, this is that next part of the story. And so they let us make this film, and they provided us with anything they had. So they were really helpful. So I thought we're in this amazing position of trust where they are letting us tell their story. They're not editing it. And they're introducing this to everyone they know, so we can do all this background research. So most everyone you see in the film, we've met them and talked to them. So the guy that teaches Jimmy Page his first chords on the guitar, Rod Wyatt, we became very good friends with Robert. We went to the schoolyard where Jimmy first heard him play, and Rod was there with his guitar, showing us the exact spot he probably was playing in. So we felt like we had this amazing trust. So with the film, it was like
huge responsibility.
We have to find everything that exists and make this the best movie that's ever been made in music, or the closest we can get, because no one's ever going to get this opportunity again. It was never going to happen. And now we've managed to get this, like, it's happening. We've got to, like American Epic, we've got to grab, and like they did when they were in the rehearsal room, we've got to grab everything we can. And so our goal was, like, I think every single piece of film footage, every separate thing that was shot is in the movie. It's like one of those exhibitions, you know, where they've found all the things that were in Tutankhamun's tomb and brought it into one museum for this special exhibition. And this is like all the Led Zeppelin story up to January 1970. Everything's here, you know, in one place. And it's a musical, you're in that world. And so we made it so you could watch it over and over again, like playing an album.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have two questions in one, because the time is ticking out. The images and the sound. I am a sound designer, and I was amazed by the quality of the sound coming from the 60s, the sound of the movie. And the images, how did you restore the audio and the images? Did you use, this is an obvious question, did you use some artificial intelligence? Did you go to the master tapes? How did you get that pristine sound that you can perceive in the movie?
No AI was used, and we went to the master tapes.
Yeah, I mean, very good question. Okay, what you're talking about, what you saw and what you heard is the pure visuals and audio. So all the visuals are the original masters or negatives. Everything came into our laboratories in Burbank, California, and we transferred it ourselves, or our laboratories in London. we got hold of all the footage ourselves and made sure how it was transferred, particularly the sound. So the sound, we were getting whatever the original masters were, like the live recordings, and we were transferring so we get the best possible sound. And then with the studio recordings, we're using the original discs, the original lacquers that were cut in 69, because that is how these records were meant to be heard. When they were made in the studio, these records, they would have a master tape, but when it went onto the vinyl LP, which is how everyone heard things, the engineers in the studio knew that the people making those vinyl LPs would do a whole bunch of stuff to the sound to make it pop. And so those original discs are what set the world's ears alight. And what we're doing is we've tracked down pristine copies of that, and there is no EQ, no compression, there's no remixing. This is Led Zeppelin's music. Don't mess with it. Give it in the purest possible way. So you're hearing it as they intended it to be heard in Led Zeppelin 1 in January 69, or in October 69 for Zeppelin 2. You're hearing the best version of that record as it was meant to be heard then, but you're hearing it now on the biggest speaker system in IMAX in the world. And so you're hearing this in a quality beyond which you could have ever heard it then, but you're hearing the true sound. And so that is what we're giving to the audience. We're giving them an experience they cannot get from a CD. They can't get it on their phone.
They can't get it on Spotify.
They can't get it on Spotify. You will not hear this. And so this is what the audiences are digging. And the other thing is, in movies, to make them louder, they use a thing called compression, where they squish all the sound down. So it's like a soap bar when you look at it on a computer. There's no compression on Becoming Led Zeppelin. There's literally, this is the sound and video equivalent of taking a fresh fruit from a tree, cutting it open and putting it straight to you on a plate. That's what you're getting.
Great. This is a necessary question. I'm gonna to encourage people to go to the cinemas to see the movie in the IMAX format, but many people is not gonna be available to see, mainly in Mexico, the movie on the movie theaters. Eventually, you're gonna release this through some platform, streaming platform, or Blu-ray, DVD is gonna be available someday. I'm not gonna give this your answer on the air until the movie goes out from the movie theaters, no? Later. Okay, you couldn't see it? This is what Bernard told us, no? And Allison.
Yeah. Well, unless you're living in the North Pole, yeah, and you don't have a boat, find a movie theater where it's playing in. This is like going to the Led Zeppelin show. Find the concert and go there. The whole message of this film is don't sit on your sofa waiting for it to come to you. Go out and get it. That's what.
Okay, great. That's perfect. The time is ticking out. You left us wanting a second part. This is obvious. Do you plan to make it eventually?
It's wonderful. There's an old entertainment expression, isn't it? It
always leave the audience wanting more.
Yeah. Jimmy often said to me, never let supply meet demand. That was the Zeppelin way. So it is wonderful. People are coming out the cinemas and going, when's the next part? And this is thrilling. Yes, we've thought about it. And yes, we've come across some amazing footage that hasn't been seen before. When you're researching one part, sometimes you come across things from later. So we're thinking over, but we spent a lot of years trying to climb Mount Everest and then get down. And so if it's okay, we want a few weeks before we start thinking about climbing the next mountain.
Exactly. Finally, can you give us some kind of greeting? Could you say hello, mention your names, and invite the Mexican public to see in movie theaters and IMAX Becoming Led Zeppelin, please?
Do you want us to say what your program is?
The name of my show is Track Attack.
Okay. Hi, listeners of Track Attack. we're inviting all of you to come and see Becoming Led Zeppelin in Mexico. And go and see it in the biggest theater you can and bring all your friends. It's like going to a concert. And this will be the first time that Led Zeppelin has ever played in Mexico. And I hope you enjoy the ride, everyone.
Great. Uh, Allison, Bernard, thank you very much for this interview. You made a great job. I'm not a fan from hell from Led Zeppelin, but I love their music and it filled my heart and I want to see it again. So thank you very much and congratulations for this great job.
Thank you for having us on your show, Pepe. It's a great honor to be speaking to you all the way from England to the people of Mexico. Thanks.
Thanks, Pepe. Lovely to speak to you too.
Thank you.
Is that Alice Cooper behind your shoulder?
Yeah, I interviewed him. He gave me this. This is with all my blood. With all my blood, this is Alice Cooper.
Their first show in Los Angeles, they were playing on the same bill as him.
Ah, okay.
Playing together, yeah. They did some shows together early on. And yeah, one of my best friends, he worked for Groucho Marx when he was a little boy. And I remember he answered the door one lunchtime and it was Alice Cooper. This was in the 70s. And Alice Cooper said, "Can Mr. Marx come out to play?"
Great story. Oh, well, Bernard, thank you very much. I know you have a lot of more interviews, but I'm very pleased to have this chat with you, this conversation.
Pepe, this was one of the most enjoyable interviews we did, and I really liked some of the things you thought about and said. It was like very, to talk. I've always wanted to go to Mexico. We live in California, which is essentially really that was originally Mexican. You know what I mean? So you're in Mexican culture there, and it's just very amazing to hear this film reaching you in this place that I haven't been to yet that I want to go to, and yeah, because we in American Epic we did all this whole story about Lydia Mendoza, the Tejano singer in the 30s, and so we were very kind of passionate and steeped in that kind of Hispanic American culture. And so it's just to hear you talk about the film, it's really moving when you've done all this work and you're seeing it like we're seeing it, and you're hearing it like we're hearing it, and you're picking up on everything we did, and it's just an amazing feeling. Like, you're a sound engineer, you know what you're hearing on that film.
Yeah.
It's like, that's really cool. It's like, yeah, this is hard to get that pure sound, it's not easy. You got to really, it's all about what you put in, you know what I mean? It's like the ingredients, being the freshest you can get. Because if it's like from some 24-bit transfer of a second generation tape and all that business, there's nothing you can do to it to give it life. But the original energy of those discs, you can't beat it. And that, the music you hear before Led Zeppelin, that's all from the original disc too. Because back then, when you hear the Johnny Bennett trio at the beginning in those records, all those records had like crazy stuff done to them as they're being cut to the vinyl. Sometimes reverb added and all this stuff. This not on the master tape. So if you listen to like the Chess records like Chuck Berry and Howling Wolf, those master tapes, well, a lot of them been burnt in the Universal fire, but those master tapes, they don't sound like the records from the 50s because they put all this stuff onto those records. But that's what set the world alight. And so to me, when you listen to the master tapes, yeah, I've heard them and we've listened to them, but the discs, that's the sound of 69. No one listened to the master tapes in the house. They were listening to the original discs, and each of those discs, there were maybe 3 or 4 different cuttings made for the UK. On album 1, my God, there's like about 10 different lacquer cuts made in 69, early 69 and each of them are different. And there's one, in our opinion, that is much better than the others. Like, the engineer knew what he was doing. And so you're kind of finding, and then Zeppelin 2, there's one cut that is massively better than all the other versions. It was done by Bob Ludwig, and it was really loud. And it was so loud, it made the needles jump out of the groove on cheap record players. So they withdrew it. But we tracked down like maybe 3 or 4 like pristine copies of this disc. And that disc has very unusual sonic properties that are super exciting. And I was chatting to Jimmy, and I just was like, I wasn't discussing really. I was like, because he loved the sound of American Epic, so he just trusted us with the audio on this, and we were just doing this, and it was like, and as we were chatting, he was going, God, this sounds amazing, Zeppelin 2. And I go, it's the Robert Ludwig vinyl cut that you're listening. He goes, yeah, that's one of the best things ever done with that album. And it was such a shame that got withdrawn and made quieter. And he thought that's the way you should hear the record. But we'd figured this out. That was what it was. So you're hearing the best version of that LP that was made, and then it was withdrawn because it was so loud, being transferred on the best lathe with the tone arm is adjusted for each track, and then it's super pure coming through, and then we're doing nothing to it. So it's had no processing whatsoever. So it's literally, and all we're doing is using the speakers in the cinema for a full stereo pan, or in the early music, it's just mono through all the speakers. So there's none of this remixing.
Okay.
So and I actually think, the pure original sound as was intended, this with Led Zeppelin, that's got to be the best. You don't want to be messing with that at all, Worry about the dialogue and the films and getting that to work. Just serve the music fresh. But it's tricky getting totally fresh, and boom, that's what it is. So thanks. It was really cool that you heard that. You could hear and see what we were doing. So
congratulations. Congratulations. It's a thing that we can put in the top of the documentary. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much.
All your staff. And I wish you all the success in Mexico and in the whole world with this jewel. So thank you very much.
Peppy, so much. And I thank you. And I hope we can one day meet, maybe the next film you come to Mexico and we can meet.
Sure. Anything
really nice meeting you.
Through Alan,
Are you in Mexico City?
Alan, he can forward our email to us and we can communicate. Yeah, it was very nice chatting to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be glad. Thank you very much to everyone. Gracias, equipo. Les mando un abrazo y paro el video aquí, ¿verdad? Y me lo grabo aquí. So, see you. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
We're going to learn Spanish for our next film.
Yeah, goodness. Spanish.
Conste, van a hablar español.